Storm system is clearing out, but temperatures are going to drop even lower tonight. How low we go and how long this cold blast lasts in my forecast.
I know during the wintertime this year it's going to be really hard to get to bed and stay inside.
Plus, as the cold settles in, many are struggling to find shelter. The latest hurdle to overcome when trying to find a warm space for the most vulnerable.
How dangerous is vaping and what needs to be done?
Look, no more of these candy flavors that are so attractive to kids.
Senator Mitt Romney's plea to doctors and the two major products they focused on.
A bill that would more closely regulate adoption stalled out on Utah's Capitol Hill. Now in the wake of a major adoption fraud scheme, why some hope lawmakers will change their tune.
Leading the way in diversity, one firefighter at a time. We'll tell you how Salt Lake City Fire is making it happen.
Live from Fox 13 Studios, this is Fox 13's Live at 5.
You know it, you feel it. It has been a chilly day, no matter where you are along the Wasatch Front. So cold, in fact, that we are now in the running for the coldest high daytime temperature on record for this particular date, October 10th. We even saw snow in some parts of Tooele County earlier this morning.
That's right, and these uncharacteristically cold temperatures aren't going anywhere for right now. Fox 13 Chief Meteorologist Kristen Van Dyke.
Oh no, in fact tonight's going to be even colder than it was this morning, and the National Weather Service, they launched these weather balloons. They do it daily, and they launched one this morning, and when it sampled the air mass over us in the Salt Lake Valley, they found that it was the coldest air mass sample for this date on record. So you know it is cold out there. Our morning lows this morning, we dropped to 18 in Logan, 25 in Ogden, and then right around 30 for Salt Lake and Provo. If it weren't for some of the leftover cloud cover from some of the lake effect snow that developed, our temperatures would have been down into the 20s this morning across parts of the valleys. And then we had lows in the teens and 20s down south, but it's going to get a lot colder down in southern Utah too. In fact, just compared to yesterday, temperatures are a good 5 to 6 degrees cooler in northern Utah. Yesterday was very chilly, but southern Utah feeling that cold with temperatures anywhere from 25 to almost 30 degrees colder just today. We are currently in the low 40s, but with wind chills, it feels like it's in the 30s with that breeze. Down in southern Utah, 40s and 50s in most everywhere. And then St. George, only at 62 degrees right now. So record lows are in jeopardy. So here's a look at what we're looking at for Friday morning. Temperatures right around 27 is a record low that was set back in 1946. Remember, our normal low is 43. We haven't even seen that yet today, but our forecast is calling for temperatures in the mid-20s for the Salt Lake area and even colder in some other spots. So record lows likely. I'll let you know how low those temperatures drop in my full forecast coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Kristen, thank you. One day after learning about Utah's first vaping-related death, community leaders are trying to figure out what's next. Today, Utah Senator Mitt Romney asked local doctors and policymakers to discuss the dangers of vaping and what needs to be done. Fox 13's Sydney Glenn is at Primary Children's Hospital this afternoon. Sydney, you were there for the roundtable discussion. What are the takeaways?
The two big topics here today were the flavored vaping products as well as that unregulated THC that we keep hearing so much about.
I've seen a patient every day this week.
A patient who ended up in a hospital bed because of vaping.
When you see young people getting super sick, getting into the ICU, landing on life support, what's going on? What's happening?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Good morning.
That question on many people's mind, including Senator Mitt Romney. That's why he says he wants things to change.
Look, no more of these candy flavors that are so attractive to kids. If adults want to use vaping products, then let them have the normal flavor of tobacco.
That doesn't sit well with the owner of Park City Vapor Company, who calls this idea irresponsible.
If you eliminate flavors, you're going to see those individuals go back to traditional cigarettes.
Now, which one is worse for you? Depends on who you talk to. Here's what we know. There have been more than 70 cases of vaping-related illnesses reported here in Utah. More than 90% of those patients admitted to using unregulated THC. That's Bo Maxon's argument.
We cannot group nicotine-based vapor in the same category as black market illegal THC products that have been diluted with vitamin E acetate.
But healthcare providers and Senator Romney argued today there just isn't enough research. And just look at this x-ray. This is a vaping patient.
Over 24, 48 hours, they can go from breathing what we call room air, breathing the regular oxygen in the air, to maybe even on the ventilator.
No matter the side, everyone here agrees they need to find a way to keep vapors from ending up in a hospital bed. So what can be done? Senator Romney says after this roundtable, he plans to go back to the CDC, the FDA, and his fellow lawmakers to make some sort of plan. What he does know right now is he definitely wants to get those flavored vaping products off of the shelves and really get a handle on this unregulated THC here in Utah. Live in Salt Lake City, Sydney Glenn, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Right now, a man and woman are behind bars accused of stealing mail in Taylorsville, Kearns, and West Valley City. Unified Police say Jose Luis Castillo and Brittany Hernandez were caught early yesterday morning, all thanks to a tip from a neighbor. Officers caught the two after a chase and found stolen mail, social security cards, also bank cards and statements, checks, and a whole lot more.
Oh yeah, this was a big deal. I mean, we're talking hundreds of homes that are potential victims. We have right now over 18 confirmed cases of mail theft.
Detectives say the two are a flight risk as well as a danger to the community. They don't want them released before trial. They also have a lot of recovered mail, so if you are missing any, please call Unified Police.
With colder temperatures, even colder tonight, homeless shelters are starting to fill up across the Salt Lake Valley.
One of the big questions is if there will be enough room and where for everyone who's going to need it this winter. Fox 13's Adam Herbats is live at the road home with a look forward. Adam, what did you find out?
Well, Bob Kelly, last night during our mayoral debate here on Fox 13, both candidates said they were concerned with how things might look this winter for our homeless population. Moving forward, this shelter is supposed to be replaced by 3 smaller shelters, but if those fill up, this might be the alternative. On the coldest day of the season so far, the soup kitchen does what it can. Today, there are no warm meals, but tonight, these mats will feel better than the cold ground outside.
It's very, very basic accommodations. We're talking about mats on floors.
I just don't really enjoy staying inside. I'm more of an outside kind of guy.
Even in the cold?
Yep. Stay outside all year round.
He might not take advantage of the beds or mats available, but he is worried about his friends who do, that this might be the only option.
I know this one gets full when it gets cold, but not a lot of them can handle being outside this time of year.
By the end of the year, about 700 beds at this downtown shelter will be gone, replaced by 3 other smaller shelters. One of them still is not finished.
We'll serve 300 men exclusively. These are very good facilities. These are brand new.
Matt Minkovich, executive director of the Road Home, says the new shelter will have more resources to get people into affordable housing. He understands sleeping on the floor is not ideal, but he hopes that stays a last resort.
Each winter, we expect there to be an increase in demand for emergency shelter. It's always important for us to be prepared to accommodate anyone who turns to us.
The executive director here at the Road Home says he expects the new shelter to be fully open and operational by the end of November. In the meantime, this shelter will remain open. We're live in downtown Salt Lake City. Adam Herbats, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still to come, you've heard about the adoption scheme centered here in Utah. We'll show you how lawmakers might have been able to stop it before it even started.
And a crash in Sandy this morning left a major mess right in front of a church parking lot. Hear from the driver's wife after it just happened.
You're watching Fox 13 News. Let's connect.
In the wake of criminal charges in a major adoption fraud case, the Utah legislature may revisit a bill that would have put more regulations in place.
Fox 13's Ben Winslow is live on Utah's Capitol Hill. Now, Ben, the bill's sponsor says it could have prevented situations like we're seeing now.
Yeah, the bill originally would have required those who facilitate adoptions, be they lawyers, social workers, or whatever else, to be regulated by the state. But it didn't get very far up here on the Hill.
Given Mr. Peterson's status, Mr. Peterson has never been arrested.
Paul Peterson appeared before a Phoenix judge on fraud charges, asking to be released on his own recognizance.
There is zero risk of flight.
The judge refused. Peterson is also facing federal charges in Arkansas and charges of human smuggling and sale of a child in Utah. Peterson will eventually be brought here to face charges leveled by the Utah Attorney General's office. He's accused of bringing pregnant women from the Marshall Islands to Salt Lake City to give birth in violation of international compacts. Authorities say he charged adoptive families up to $40,000.
There's a lot of gaps in our statute that allow, I think, for some unethical practices, which now we're seeing one of them.
Senator Luz Escamilla tried to run a bill to regulate what are known as adoption facilitators, people who get paid to deal with private adoptions. Adoption agencies are already regulated. But she says she got a lot of pushback from people involved, including associates of Paul Peterson.
This name came up in some of those conversations, so it was not an unknown. I mean, he's very well known in the state of Utah.
Utah's Department of Human Services tells Fox 13 it supported Senator Escamilla's bill. She says lawmakers who initially opposed it may now be changing their minds.
I think there has to be some standards that we agree as a state that we want to see people getting involved in something so special, so delicate as it is the process of adoption. Because you're not only dealing with a precious life of a child, but you also have the biological parents involved and the adoptive parents.
Now, an attorney who serves as the Standards and Practices Chair for the Utah Adoption Council, that's a nonprofit volunteer group that advocates for adoption, he says he has concerns that the bill is too broad and captures legitimate efforts adoptive parents make to find a child to adopt. He says that state law that is already in place is working, as is evidenced by this latest case. Live on the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Ben, thanks. Stay with Fox 13 News as we continue to track this story. We're going to look at what's next for the expectant mothers who are still right now in Utah. That's tonight after the NFL game.
Utah Senator Mitt Romney is speaking publicly for the first time after President Trump's vulgar comments about him last weekend. The president responded with the coarse language after Senator Romney released a statement critical of the president's push for China and Ukraine to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden. Today, Senator Romney essentially brushed off the issue.
First of all, I don't follow the president on Twitter, so I don't see all of his tweets. But secondly, you know, in my business, if you got concerned about criticism, you'd be in the wrong business.
When asked about backing the House impeachment inquiry or removing the president from office, Senator Romney said he would wait on a decision on both until the House sends articles of impeachment to the Senate.
The Utah Supreme Court is ordering the Attorney General's office to weigh in on a case of transgender birth certificates. Sean Childers Gray and Angie Rice were granted legal name changes but were not permitted to change the M or F for their sex. That was on their birth certificates as well, but now some judges say they do grant that change, however, others do not. The state originally stayed out of it. Now the High Court wants the Attorney Generals to take on whether to grant gender marker changes in light of other pro-LGBT rulings.
Still ahead on Fox 13 News Live at 5, Salt Lake City Fire is looking to expand in a big way. See what firefighters are looking to do differently this time in today's Growing Utah.
And lower tonight, freeze warning still in effect for the Wasatch Front, and we also have freeze warnings down towards Moab, San Juan County, Castle Country, everywhere highlighted here. How low those temperatures officially drop in your weekend forecast next.
This is Fox 13 News.
An LDS church parking lot in Sandy was left covered in beer and diesel fuel today after a semi crash. It happened at 13th East and 114th South at about 6 a.m. Sandy police say a semi was northbound on 13th East when a westbound pickup truck ran a red light and hit the semi. The semi driver is hospitalized. The other driver was not hurt. But his wife says he's shaken up.
When something like this happens, you're just grateful that everyone's okay and you hope that there's no long-term effects.
Police say the driver of the Tundra will be cited for running the red lights.
A garbage fire caused some trouble for traffic this morning. Look at this. 20th East in Salt Lake City was closed for just a short time between 27th South and 30th South. Crews had to clean all of this up. A dump truck driver noticed smoke coming out of the back of the truck and then dropped the load into a nearby parking lot.
Occasionally this happens where they're not able to find a parking lot and therefore they dump the contents in the streets. At that point, the structures nearby as well as people is our highest priority.
No one was hurt. The cause of the fire is now under investigation.
As an island of blue and a sea of red, Salt Lake City's LGBTQ community has emerged as a big voting bloc, but it's staying out of a big political race. Today, Equality Utah's Political Action Committee announced its endorsements for municipal offices, but the group says it will not offer an endorsement between Aaron Mendenhall and Luz Escamilla in the Salt Lake City mayor's race. They both scored 100% on its candidate survey and are listed as strong supporters of LGBTQ rights. So Equality Utah says it decided to stay neutral, telling supporters that either candidate would be great in office. The Salt Lake City Fire Department is changing its hiring practices.
This is all in an effort to be more inclusive, also to keep up with the state. Fox 13's Elle Thomas has more in today's Growing Utah.
As Utah grows, so do our fire departments. And Salt Lake City Fire is putting an emphasis on matching our community with more diverse hiring.
There's never a dull day in the life of a firefighter.
You never know what you're going to go on.
But this crew makes it look easy.
You could be called to the same place over and over, and it's going to be something different each time.
This is just one of 14 stations across Salt Lake City.
You want to check it out?
But as the city grows, so does the department.
Back here, we keep some of our other appliances.
For SLC Fire, that doesn't just mean more staff.
Obviously, Salt Lake City is growing exponentially. It's an incredibly diverse city, and we want to make sure that our department reflects the citizens that we serve.
It means diversity.
We want to have more females. We want to have more ethnic minorities. We want people from out of state. We want people who speak multiple languages.
In changing up hiring practices, they say the goal is to focus on inclusion and ultimately making connections.
A lot of the times we don't realize how comfortable we are seeing somebody who looks like us. But to have a firefighter who can relate to that individual and come at them from that very unique lens, again, is incredibly valuable for our department.
So when the call comes in, they're ready to serve everyone.
We're headed in the right direction.
Salt Lake City Fire will be holding a hiring event come January 2020. If you want to learn more, head to our website. In Salt Lake City, Elle Thomas, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, you saw the sunshine out there today, but
Woke up to sunshine, in fact, where I was.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
a nice sight. I wasn't sure if I was going to be waking up to snow this morning.
I know. Some of us were waking up to a little bit of snow, just depending on where you were. We had a little bit of light lake effect snow that developed late last night, but it just brought a dusting to most of us. So it was a very quick hitting system, not a whole lot of moisture to deal with. The biggest story, as we've been talking about, has been how cold these temperatures are. And as I mentioned, a weather balloon launched by the National Weather Service today, sampling the air above us, and found that it was the coldest air mass for this date on record. So we did have some records broken there. A couple of other places set some new records with lows. Thanks to some of the leftover cloud cover for a lot of the night, temperatures didn't drop as low in Salt Lake City, but we were really close to a record low. We dropped to 30. The record was 28, set back in 1932. So that's a long-standing record there. Our high today only 42. Our normal low is 43. So we didn't even manage that. We couldn't even get all the way up to our normal low this afternoon. Our normal high is 67. And then to put things really into perspective, our record high for today is 88 degrees. So isn't that hard to think about? Sunsets tonight at 6:56. It rises tomorrow morning at 7:34. We are still sitting in the low 40s. Temperatures will fall quickly tonight. We won't have as much wind, but we will have a more dramatic drop in temperatures. And tonight, clear skies in place, light winds. That is a perfect setup for temperatures to just bottom out. And so we are going to be looking at likely multiple records broken when we wake up tomorrow morning. It's currently right now 40 in Logan, low 30s in Evanston. Down in southern Utah, we're in the low 40s in Bryce Canyon. And St. George coming in only at 62 degrees. Here's your evening planner. Clear skies, fairly light winds, temperatures falling to the freezing mark before midnight tonight. And we'll see widespread lows in the 20s. And then down in southern Utah, temperatures will fall quickly into the 40s as we head towards 11 p.m. under these clear skies. And we could have lows flirting with the freezing mark down in St. George tonight. This is your hour-by-hour forecast for tomorrow. Clear skies. We'll have 20s in the forecast through a lot of the morning, and then that sunshine will warm us quickly. And tomorrow afternoon, you'll notice the turnaround. It's going to begin that quickly. Our temperatures will be warmer tomorrow. In fact, we may even try to top out in the low 50s for portions of the Wasatch Front. But most of the day will be spent in the upper 40s. A far cry from today, where we've been struggling to get out of the 30s. Skies are nice and clear behind this system that continues to head out to the east. The cold air will continue to pull away as well. We warm things up this weekend. There is a chance for a slight little mini cool down on Monday, but nothing like what we saw. So you probably won't even notice it. Temperatures are going to be so much warmer than what we're seeing right now. And then by Wednesday, we actually start to get into a southwest flow. And so that means temperatures are going to warm up even more. And we could be flirting with some 70s by Wednesday afternoon, believe it or not. Then, of course, it's fall, so we're going to see another dip in the jet. And that's going to bring in another cool down for next weekend. Your forecast for tomorrow morning, temps in the low to mid 20s, down to 23 in Provo, 24 in Salt Lake, 21 in Ogden, mid-teens in Logan. We'll likely start off in the low teens in Park City, but there's a chance if the winds just get still enough, we could be in the single digits there tomorrow morning. And we'll start off in the 30s down in St. George. Highs tomorrow, upper 40s to low 50s. And then down in southern Utah, a little warmer, no 60s in the forecast, but low 70s. It'll feel really nice tomorrow afternoon. It is going to be a dry 7-day forecast and a warmer one too. 80s return Monday down south, low to mid 80s after that. And in northern Utah, temperatures will go from 49 to 59 as we start the weekend off. And then mid 60s after that by Wednesday, close to 70.
I'm Jeff Rainier. Coming up in sports, what went wrong for the Jazz last night in Milwaukee? We'll hear from Mike Conley and Quinn Snyder after a 34-point loss to the Bucks. It was a tough Utah Jazz debut for Mike Conley after sitting out the first preseason game. Conley played in the Jazz uniform for the first time last night in Milwaukee, but it did not go well for Conley or the Jazz. Conley scored 6 points, but they all came at the free throw line. He was 0 for 6 from the field, and he and fellow newcomer Bojan Bogdanovic combined to go 0 for 14. In the Jazz 34-point loss to the Bucks. There's a lot of optimism with this Jazz team after an aggressive offseason, but it is way too early to panic.
A lot of us our first time really playing together. My first game, I think Don's first time playing with the new group and just trying to figure out, everybody and the system and all the new faces, but we got a lot to improve on. That's okay.
Good for us to, get some feedback from, one of the best teams in the league, but there's also things that we can take from this game that we can control no matter who's playing or how much we've played together. And it's good for us to feel that. I think we have to continue to learn how to compete collectively.
The Jazz will play their third preseason game tomorrow night in New Orleans against former Jazz teammate Derek Favors and the Pelicans. NFL game tonight, Giants and the Patriots. Right. Only one local player, Kyle Van Noy, former star at BYU. Keep an eye on him. Yeah. Hopefully have some highlights of him tonight.
Usually I find my eyes drifting over to the QB, Tom Brady.
Let's see how
I don't know why.
now we know. We'll see you later tonight after NFL football.